Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Tuesday, July 9th, 2024. The main fire potential impacts for the next couple of days continues to be heat across much of the Great Basin, really focusing on the west today and expanding further east over the next couple of days. And we have some wind moving in as well along the Sierra Front and the Utah Mountains today. Those areas expanding a little bit tomorrow, and then on Thursday we'll see the winds move up into central and eastern Idaho. Yesterday was a clear day with no lightning or precip. And fire activity is shown here. We had 8 new fires for just 6,300 for about 6,300 acres, and our large fire growth was almost 20,000 acres. So not a lot of new fires, but the fires we did have got at least one of them got really big. They're in southwest Idaho. Observed precip for the past 7 days on the left. Just shows really it's been quite dry for the past week. We did have some precip over the northern or the central Idaho mountains and western Wyoming recently, but for the most part it's been pretty dry. And the same thing on the percent of normal for the past 30 days. Very dry signal over Idaho, Nevada, northern Utah. We're still seeing some of that early monsoon moisture impacts across southeast Utah. Our ERCs have been on the upswing for the last week under this heat. We have quite a few areas with very high values, over the 97th percentile, and some new records even. Further north, values aren't quite as high, but still very high, especially the highest we've seen so far this year with that heat and very dry atmosphere. A closer look at a few of these areas shows over southwest Idaho. Those values right here are just approaching the 80th percentile. But the forecast is showing that they'll continue to rise and will be up by the 90th percentile at the end of the 7-day forecast. Further south across the Arizona Strip, those values are setting new historical records by quite a large margin, literally almost off the charts here, and we should see those values continue to increase for the next couple of days before some relief moves in. The satellite imagery for this morning shows that large area of high pressure over the entire western U.S., nice, very dry air mass and hot temperatures under that ridge. Okay, again for this afternoon, just that high pressure in place, very hot, very dry. We have high risk issued for the heat in Nevada and up into southwest Idaho. There is some wind in Utah, so we do have high risk for a couple of those zones here, mainly because of the ongoing fire activity in those areas. The winds are not super high. Minimum relative humidities today are very low, especially over Nevada, single digits. Little bit higher over Idaho, but only slightly, and very dry in Utah as well. So here's a closer look at those winds today over the mountains of central and southern Utah, gusting to 25 to 26 miles an hour, a little bit higher than yesterday. Not super strong, but again, in light of the fire activity there, we issued those high risk. On Wednesday, high pressure ridge remains in place, expands a little bit further eastward, bringing the heat further into the Great Basin. We do have a lot of high risk for that heat, record-setting heat, or near record-setting heat anyway, for Wednesday. And there, just this one zone, the Dixie National Forest, we do have highlighted for winds. Oh, actually 2 of those zones, Fish Lake and the Dixie for winds again tomorrow. The winds do pick up just a bit tomorrow. But again, not super strong, but something to be aware of in light of the fires in those areas. And maximum temperature forecast is shown here, a very hot 109 in Boise, 105 in Reno, and really starting to heat up on the east side as well. On Thursday, the ridge continues to shift slightly eastward, bringing heat throughout the Great Basin. We also have some gusty winds moving into eastern Idaho and western Wyoming on Thursday, so we do have high risk for those winds, east Idaho, western Wyoming there. Closer look at the winds shown here, gusts 35 miles an hour or 30 to 35 miles an hour possible in eastern Idaho and western Wyoming, so we do have high risk there, and minimum relative humidities are just really low everywhere. 3-day precip accumulation, of course, shows really not much at all, of course, underneath that ridge. All right, on Friday, the ridge continues to shift ever so slightly, and as it does, we open the door a little bit for some southerly moisture to start moving into the Great Basin. So on Friday, or as early as Friday, we could start to see some thunderstorms returning to the Great Basin. Right now we have highlighted just the Arizona Strip, far southwest Utah, for those increasing isolated thunderstorms, but we'll be keeping an eye on exactly where these storms may develop, as any lightning strikes definitely have the potential to cause new large fires behind this. hot and dry time period. So on Saturday, we'll start to see the moisture increasing as it wraps around that ridge, as the ridge shifts slightly to the east, opening the door for that southerly moisture. High risk for much of the southwest Utah, southern Nevada, and then even up along the Sierra Front. On Sunday, moisture continues to move northward for isolated storms across portions of central Nevada. Again, we'll be keeping a close eye on where these storms will develop every day. Expect the high risk areas to change as we have more confidence in exactly where the moisture will be heading as it moves back up into the Great Basin. And then on Monday, storms continuing as well under this moisture feed. 7-day precip totals are shown here. Not a whole lot of precip yet. This just goes through early next week, Monday, Tuesday. So we'll start to see the potential for some precip by really early in the next week, Monday timeframe. So not significant relief coming yet. This picture just tells us we should expect to see more initial attack and the potential for more large fires, especially where the drier storms will be moving in to Nevada and Idaho. The extended forecast for July 16th through the 22nd keeps above normal temperatures over the northern Rockies and the northern Great Basin. And we do have a chance for above normal precip over Utah, again with that monsoon returning. This concludes today's briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.